welcome to Beauty Behind the Chair. And I'm your host, Selina. We are having honest conversations that normally happen behind the chair about life, beauty, purpose, and all that God has created you to be. This podcast is where beauty, faith, and real life meet. So pull up a chair, get comfortable, and let's get into today's conversation. Welcome to Ep.5. And the title of this episode is Dancing in the Rain of Disappointment When Support Does Not Show Up. So, my inspiration behind this particular episode is something that I can relate to in a lot of ways. Being an entrepreneur for over 20 years has been a long journey. I've seen a lot of things as it relates to support, right? And talking to my other entrepreneurs and sharing similar stories, it was just put on my heart to talk about it a little more. I know some entrepreneurs talk about it, some don't, because it can be very hurtful when there is a lack of support from your circle. So today I'm going to share a little bit of my story over the years, the lessons that I've learned and still learning, right? And hopefully it will encourage those entrepreneurs, whether they're in the beginning stages, halfway through, or even coming to the end of their journey. So let's get into it, okay? Sometimes the silence, the lack of support, unmet expectations can be very disappointing, can be very hurtful, can cause a little frustration, anger, even some bitterness, right? And everybody's story is different, but it hurts when the people closest to you, your family, your friends, your loved ones, coworkers, whatever your circle consists of, don't show up, don't support in whatever way, whether that's not saying anything, speaking negative, not coming to an event or function or some type of celebration that you're doing for the next milestone in your life, right? All those things play a part of hurt, a disappointment that you go through and you carry, right? But let me say this. One thing that I'm learning through this entrepreneurship journey is a lot of times, and this is not all the time, it depends on your situation, stem from your own insecurities. And what do I mean by that, stemming from your own insecurities? Well, sometimes we doubt and question the things that God calls us to do, right? Now, granted, we all have talents and things that we're good at. But what about those things being taken to the next level? Or what about something that we didn't think we were good at? And God is leading us to do that very thing. We all might have our own insecurities and our doubts and question those. But it's when we put it out and we decide to take that step of faith, and if family don't support or understand the vision and what we're doing, because we don't fully understand sometimes, because God may give us a glimpse. He's not giving us the whole picture because we have to take the step of faith. And when they don't support, you may look and say, well, why? Why didn't they support? Am I not X, Y, and Z? Am I not showing that I'm talented enough? Because you already are carrying your own insecurities, right? So it can make it grow. And you look at, okay, God, I don't know about this, But that's just like if someone is an artist or a teacher or a speaker or, they're called to be a barber, whatever it is, right? And they're in the beginning stages. They don't feel like they should be doing it, or they're changing career paths, whatever the case is. And God is calling them to do that. They decide to take the step of faith, and then they don't have the support of family. All it is, whether they admit it or not, to others or to themselves, God knows what we carry in our own doubts and insecurities, right? All that is going to do is add to it. It's just going to make it grow and make us maybe even second guess. Why are we doing this? I don't know if I should do this, right? But oftentimes, what God calls us to do, we may not see what's on the inside of us, Others may see it. We may not see it. But God qualifies the unqualified. So just because we think we can be a teacher, be a lawyer, be a speaker, be an English teacher, whatever it is, right? God knows what He's placed on the inside of us. A little personal story about me. So, in my first episode, I touched on a little bit about me when I was younger and how I was a shy little girl. I did not like talking in front of people, especially groups, presentations. Oh no, read out loud. That was definitely not my thing. Okay. Very anti. And fast forward, to being in the beauty industry, I'll say in the beginning stages, being an assistant, even being a stylist. I love the industry. I love, coming to the shop and making women feel amazing. I love the salon talk. But me, I was not talking to the clients, okay, at all. I was mute. And so I had to be pushed out my comfort zone and start talking because I realized like they come there, they want to talk. They got a lot to say. You have to make them feel comfortable and so on. And so I would say that's kind of where I got a lot of my practice from, right? From talking to different women, learning their personalities and different things like that. And so as time went on, I'm being pushed even more. I had to start doing classes and then now opening up a salon and then the woman empowerment and just the different and the mentoring, the different journeys that God has placed me on. And so each one caused me to be pushed out my comfort zone. So I started talking more and more. And I'm just looking like, no, I'm not a speaker, and I would have different people tell me that I was really good at speaking and all of these things, right? But I'm looking at myself, I'm looking at my past and the fear of speaking in front of people. So I had a woman that was very dear to my heart. She passed away, God bless her soul. And so every time that she would come around me, she would call me just out of the blue a lot of times. And she would speak so much to me about my future. And she did this for years before I even started doing like women empowerments, really, and things like that. And she would just tell me, like, you're a speaker, you're this, you're going to do seminars, um, you're going to be leading women, and you're going to be this, and you're a trailblazer. All of these great things she would say. And I was just looking like, okay, if you say so. But if I'm honest, I did not believe her. Why I didn't believe her? Because I didn't believe I was a speaker. I didn't believe God was calling me to speak. Even though He was showing me and has been showing me, pushing me out my comfort zone, causing me to do different things, and I've been stepping out on faith, doing it afraid, okay? Not letting fear paralyze me, right? But I didn't believe the different things that she was speaking into my life, the different things that she saw in me that I didn't even see in myself because of my own insecurities. So that's what I mean by sometimes our own insecurities can hold us back and we can believe the things others may project. So their fears, their negativity onto us if we're carrying our own insecurities. So it wasn't until a couple of years ago really that I fully embraced, like, okay, God, you have called me to speak. I'm looking at myself. And oftentimes when God calls us to do something that we believe we can't do, that's what we do. We look at ourselves instead of looking to God. For me, I didn't have the faith, believing that I was called to speak and do the different things that she was saying I was going to do. It's something I had to grow into. I had to grow in faith in that area. And I'm still growing faith in that area, believe it or not, because we get in our own way. I overthink a lot, because a lot of times I stumble over my words. I don't know what I'm saying. I have a lot of thoughts going on. I'm like, is it going to come out right? You know what I mean? But all of that stuff doesn't matter because God knows what He placed on the inside of me. Okay. So I just wanted to share that for anybody that's struggling with, something that they believe God is calling them to do and they're looking at their self. Don't look at yourself. Look at God because He is faithful to bring you through. Okay. We can't listen to ourselves a lot of times, as well as others, especially when it's speaking negative. Other people may speak negative in regards to what you're doing, whether that's they don't understand it, they don't believe in you, they're just not happy with where they are in life. Whatever the reason is, don't listen to them and don't listen to yourself because you can be your own worst enemy, talking yourself out of your fullest potential that God is calling you to. Okay. Remember, God's grace is sufficient. He gives us grace every day to complete the things that he wants us to do. His grace is enough. So we have to learn to dance in the rain. That's a quote that I have up in the shop. And I know we've heard it before. Learn to dance in the rain, And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, yes, you just have to move despite the lack of support, despite the disappointment, despite the negativity. You have to learn to dance in the rain. You can't let the rain stop you. In the journey of being an entrepreneur, and it doesn't just have to be entrepreneur, it could just be life in general. Certain things are meant to stop you from moving. But God requires us to move. I don't care if we're doing a 1-2 step, a baby step in the rain. We have to move. We got to keep going. And it made me think about sometimes when it rains, for some people, they don't like going out. They might change their plans. They may say, oh, I'm not going out in the rain. I'm not running this errand or what have you. But don't let it stop your plans. Go. Just prepare better. So whether that's sometimes when we go in the rain, what do? We get an umbrella. Some of us ladies won't have enough. We put a jacket over our head. You know what I mean? We put a bag over our head. We do what we got to do to get to the car, right? Same thing. Prepare better. If you know or you realize that going into a certain career path or journey or whatever it is that you're on, and you're getting pushback from family, from friends, from loved ones, different ones around you, you got to pray more. You got to say, God, give me the strength. God, give me the grace. You know what I mean? Like, I need your power, God, to continue to push through. Because it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right? That's why we got to go to him. Because he knows, he's built us for this journey. And oftentimes, going through the journey, where it builds our character, it builds our patience, our trust, our faith in him. This is something that we have to go through. And it all works together for our good. We may not feel like it does, but it will. So learning to dance in the rain means not shrinking, not quitting, not becoming bitter, and not always looking for validation. Those are the things that can trip you up, have you questioning, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And just have you in a place of not moving, not finishing what lies ahead. We have to trust God in the process. That's what faith is. Because although we take that step of faith, and you may not know what's to the left, to the right, in front of you, he may show you a piece of the step, not the whole step. But when you move, when you step out on faith, you can't see, right? It's literally you walking blind. But you're telling God, I trust you. I believe you are guiding me in this path. So this is what I'm going to do. We have to crowd out the noise. I know it's easier said than done. The noise of disappointment, the noise of what are you doing, questioning you, being negative, the silence when you're expecting people to clap for you and show up and support you and they don't, all of those things can throw you off and have you quitting, giving up, and not pushing past to finish the goal, right? That's why we got to be consistent. Consistency is what's going to get you to the end goal. You got to be consistent, okay? You got to push past those feelings because feelings will steer you wrong every time. Not sometimes, every time. It's something that you were called to do, right? That's something that I know a lot of entrepreneurs question. I've even questioned, okay, if I'm being honest. And I believe time will tell. You just got to stay the course. Time will tell. And keep going. You cannot give up. Because, of course, if you give up, you're not going to know. You know what I mean? But you have to keep going. God confirms it, whether that's through people, you reading something, seeing something. He sent a personal word to you, like he will confirm it. And oftentimes the things you don't want to do is the very thing that God wants you to do. So it causes you to be pushed out your comfort zone. because we are creatures of comfort, right? We like to be comfortable. I know when I think of comfort, I think about under a nice blanket, on my couch, right? God want to get in there and push you a little more, because if we can, we'll stay right here. We won't jump over the line. But even though he was requiring us to jump over the line, right? We won't do it out of fear, out of uncertainty, out of doubts, out of, fear of failure. It's a lot of reasons why we won't do the things that God calls us or requires us to do. But we have to take those baby steps of faith. And in time, we will see if we're on the right track. If we're not, then guess what? We're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to turn left. But do you know, all the roads will lead back to God. We just got to try. You're not going to know if you're on track. So validation, I know in the entrepreneurship world, we talk a lot about validation, right? And it's important to not seek validation from others. And let me be honest, that has been a struggle for me, because of course, who doesn't want validation to sure they're on the right track, or see if they're doing things right, or do it sound like I'm on to something? You know what I mean? Especially being a creative person and God blessing me with a lot of gifts and talents and ideas, But for me, I had to learn, and still learning, that the only validation that matters is from God. God will send you validation through certain people at different times, at the set time, the right time, okay? But that shouldn't consume us of why we keep going on this journey, like looking and seeking for people to approve what we're doing, because it doesn't matter. They're not going to understand what God has placed on the inside of us. We don't fully understand, okay? So how are they going to understand? Unless God opens our eyes and heart to see what he's doing. And so we just can't allow it to be the driving force, or think that we're failing because we're lacking validation from those ones closest to us. We have to remember our end goal is to please God. So another lesson that I'm learning in this journey, you have to encourage yourself. And that's easier said than done as well, because I know for me, and I spoke on this before, I'm an encourager. So I love to encourage people. I'm always complimenting them, telling them they did a great job. They look amazing. Especially if they're talking about entrepreneur, oh, how can I help you? Or try to push the different entrepreneurs that I know to go a little further, because I may see something in them, or, give them ideas, whatever it is, right? But the saying, the encourager needs an encourager, right? So I have my days where I need encouragement, but God has been showing me you need to encourage yourself in me, because that's where my strength comes from. That's where my hope comes from. That's where my creativeness comes from, is him. So that's something that I had to learn, and still learning, to encourage myself in the Lord, because that's what's going to get me through and push past those seasons of wanting to give up, being tired, and questioning, I don't know about this, okay? And so we also have to let go of expectations of people. Now, that's a hard lesson that I had to learn, still learning this one, okay? Because realistically, we do. We have expectations of the ones closest to us, thinking they should support me like this. And if nobody else should be at this and this, they should be here, And that's not the case. That's how we get our feelings hurt. That's how we become hurt and disappointed, because those expectations that we put on the people we know and love can let us down, because they're human at the end of the day, and they have their different reasons, whether that's going through something in their life. They may not believe in the vision. They may not understand what you're doing and say, hey, I need to sit back and see what's going on here, Or they may have their own insecurities and things that are going on in their life where they can't fully show up for you like they may want to or need to. And of course, there's the other side of things where, we talk about haters and people not being happy for you or wishing you don't do well. Let's be honest. It is those things. And God will show you He will reveal those people to you. You will see. And like they say, when someone show you, you got to believe them. You know what I mean? But not trying to get off track. My point is we have expectations of the people we love and close to. That's why it hits differently. That's why it hurts. And we got to let those expectations go. That doesn't mean it's not going to bother us. We're not going to be disappointed and hurt and all the things, right? We have to give it to God and allow God to show us how to forgive, how to push past, how to, this is the hard one I had to learn, still show up for them, okay? And not just take it so personal, right? Like I said, that's a hard lesson. I'm not going to tell you that I have learned that because I haven't. I'm still learning it as we speak. But God is good. Like He has given me the grace, the strength that I need to continue to get through each journey, because each journey has brought a different level of disappointment. That's a part of the journey. I realize that's a part of the process. That's a part of it building me as an entrepreneur. That's a part of my skin being thicker and accepting things for what they are, but not letting it stop me, and understanding that God has given me an assignment and it's bigger than me. So I can't sit in bitterness. I can't sit in anger. I can't sit in disappointment. Yes, for a moment, but I got to get up and keep going. I got to keep moving. It's no time for that. I have work to do. Okay. And so another big lesson that I've learned along this journey, and a lot of entrepreneurs can attest to this, is sometimes strangers are your biggest supporters. And that's kind of sad, or I'll say it was sad to me, because I'm looking at it like, why are these strangers going so hard for me? Why are they believing in me? Why are they, rooting for me, right? Doing all the things that, again, going back to those expectations that I believe family and friends should do. But again, that's a part of the journey. That was a part of my journey. That was a part of the different entrepreneurs that I have talked to, and the different ones that may be listening. That is a part of the journey. And God knows the reasons why. And sometimes He may share why they are our biggest supporters, right? And sometimes He may not, but we still have to trust the process. But I do believe that the strangers are seeing you from almost a non-biased eye. They're seeing what's really in you. They're seeing what God has placed inside of you. And a lot of people are connected to your assignment. That's why it's important for you to move. That's why it's important for you to push past the different things, the different obstacles, the different challenges that try to throw you off. Keep going and keep staying focused on the journey, the end goal, right? For me, like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. It has been a long time, okay? Let me tell you. And over the years, have I had disappointment? Have I had a lot of hurt, anger, bitterness? Yes, I have. I would like to say no, but that's not the truth. And I'll just state briefly, and again, this is not to tear anyone down. This is just a part of my journey. This is what I feel on my heart to share a little bit to help someone else, okay? And in the beginning of my hair journey, I had a lot of family members questioning, and friends questioning, what are you doing? Why you want to do hair? Like, why you want to do hair? That's not a real job. That's not a real career. Which I do, playing people hair all day. And if I'm being honest, I had my own insecurities about doing hair full time. But it was something I loved, and I kept feeling that nudge to do hair, do hair, do hair. It wasn't until later that I've learned that, okay, it was bigger than me. It was more than just hair, right? But I say all that to say, even in the beginning, like when I was doing hair and building my clientele, I had people that was close to me that would go and support other people that was big time, I'll say, in the industry or well known. And they would shout them out, they would send them praises and all this, but they couldn't support me. Or the different ones that did support me, they were looking for free or discount. And they wasn't referring to anybody, whether that was through mouth or card or anything, you know? And so fast forward when social media came around, and that was the way of marketing and advertising. It was hurtful to see people supporting the different people that they didn't know, that they would go to for the first time and shout them out and say, hey, I love this, I love that. But when you come to me, no support. It's no referrals. It's nothing, you know? And so we live in a time where, social media is free. It's a lot of free marketing and advertisement. Yes, there's paid, but I'm talking about the free things, the things that you can share, you can repost, you can like, and all of that, right? But thank God that didn't stop me. I'm so thankful to God because I was able to build my clientele off of referrals, and that's one example that strangers was a big support to me. And that's why I said I love my clients because they have become like family to me. And I'm just like, it was nobody but God. And this was before social media that I built a clientele. Social media, of course, helped advance it because that's the new day and time where people go to social media to see, oh, let me see the stylist, where she's located, what type of styles, services she does, And so my point of that is, yes, it was hurtful. Yes, it was discouraging. Yes, it had me a little angry and bitter, okay? But for me personally, one of the sayings I say is, you want to be better, not bitter. And so that's a constant prayer for me. God, help me not be bitter. Help me be better. Oftentimes, the cards that we're dealt with, we have to play our cards. And it can cause you to be bitter based off the cards that you're dealt. You have to choose to be better. I know for me personally, I want to be better. I don't want to be bitter. I know what it's like. I've seen it all around me, and it shows. It shows on your outer appearance, spills out of you when you speak, how you carry yourself, how you show up for yourself and others. And I'm like, I don't want that. I want to be better. Now, that doesn't mean it's not a struggle getting through the different challenges, the different disappointments in life, right? But that's a constant reminder for me that no, how am I going to get through this, God? Help me get through this. Okay. And so with my journey of being a woman empowerment, right? Let me tell you, in the beginning, that was definitely an insecurity that I had. Because again, I didn't think I was a speaker. And so God was pushing me to speak. I started out small in my home and then it grew, right? And so fast forward, well, let me back up. I got a lot of negativity in the beginning. Why you want to do that? Oh, I don't deal with women. Fast forward, I still get it. I get it. Like a lot of women don't like being around other women for various reasons. I know some people have been traumatized by their experience with women and depending on their upbringing and things like that. I get it. Let me tell you something. Growing up, I've always had issue with females. I still have them. Okay. Um, since I was a little girl, I would walk in and they say, oh, she thinks she cute. Oh, she thinks she better than this and this. And keep in mind, let me just say this to remind you all. I was pretty much a mute. I was very quiet to myself, okay, growing up. And I'm just like, how? I didn't even say nothing. I barely said hi. You know what I mean? I had to learn it was their own insecurities, their own things that they were dealing with that they were projecting on me. And I had to grow into not shrinking, because oftentimes I would. That's why I said don't shrink for others. I would shrink and say, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't do this or say this or what have you when it was time to talk or whatever, But no, that was their own insecurities, And as I grew in the industry, I started seeing the different women having some of the same issues with the hate with women, tearing each other down and can't give a woman a compliment and so forth and so forth. That pet peeve was my driving force to build the woman empowerment that I saw God was working like, okay, the things you don't like, this is what I want you to start working on and start making a change. And, and that's exactly going on. But yes, it was a lack of support there, and still is. But again, I see it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. So God sends me the resources. He sends me the community that's still growing and building. And he's like, keep going. And that's what I'm doing, because it's not about what I want to do, what I feel like doing. It's about the purpose and plan that God has for me. And so even another area or journey, I'll say, that I had a lot of lack of support. I have a family Christian apparel line, crowned only. I'll say this. Again, this is not to knock anyone. This is just a part of my journey. I've had family members that did not believe in the vision. They did not support, still haven't supported to this day. I've had family members and friends that haven't bought one thing from the Christian apparel line, and I've had it, and it's been around for a few years now. And so the hurt behind that was not just the lack of support or purchasing something, because it's not about buying something. It's just not about that. Support comes in a lot of ways. You don't have to purchase something. You can pray for me. You can send me words of encouragement. You can refer someone to me, acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Anything. Social media, again, is another platform, but it's so many different ways that support can happen without just money, is what I'm trying to say. But the hurt that came from that was, in addition to the lack of support, was even seeing different ones that was in, I'll say, my circle close to me and everything, support other Christian apparels. I mean, that they didn't know, that weren't in state, they wasn't local. And I get it. Like, we starting from the bottom, you know what I mean? And it just made me think about like clothing lines that are big time. They started somewhere, you know what I mean? So again, going back to those expectations, you want, or at least you hope for, your people close to you to support and, be rooting you on and cheering for you and praying for you and believing in you, right? But God continues to show me through the different journeys that I'm your biggest supporter. I'm rooting for you. I'm here. I believe in you. What did I put on in you? What vision did I give you? Keep moving. It's bigger than what you're looking at. Okay. And so, yes, although those things hurt and can cause you to look like, what am I doing? I don't want to keep going through this, right? I had to keep going. That hasn't stopped the different journeys that I've been on. And I'll have people say, wow, you're doing this, you're doing this. Dang, what else, what else are you going to do? And I get it, because sometimes, if I'm honest, I think the same thing. I'm like, okay, God, what you want me to do what? And fast forward to the new journey, the podcast, right? I didn't see myself doing a podcast years ago. I did not. Different people have said that to me. They have spoken. I see you doing this, and that over the years, right? But if I'm honest, I was in one ear and out the other, because again, going back to the speaking, I was like, I'm not a speaker. Look, I said, you are a speaker because I'm in you. So I'm like, okay, and so I say all that to say that the different journeys comes with different levels of hurt, disappointment, but it's all a part of the journey. It makes you stronger. It makes you grow in your faith. It makes you grow in trusting God, that he is who he said he is, and his promises are true. So we can't look at everyone else to do this and that, or even look at ourselves. We have to look to God. And let me just say this on another note. I'm so grateful, and I thank God for my village. Those family members, friends, loved ones, coworkers, the different ones in my circle, that my clients, the strangers, all the different ones, and you know who you are, who have showed up and continue to show up through all the journeys that God has put me on. Being an entrepreneur for over 20 years, when I tell you, like, I couldn't do it without y'all support. And I'm very appreciative, and I thank God for each and every one of you all, because I'm learning and understanding that it's not about quantity, it's about the quality. And that's a hard lesson that I had to learn. Okay. It's about the quality, not the quantity. Because oftentimes we may look at the amount of people we know, the people close to us, and all of that, and expect, them to show up a certain way. And a lot of times it's because we look at how we would show up. Oh, I would do this, I would do that. But they're not you. They're not going to show up the way you want them to show up because you are different. Everybody shows up differently, right? And so, my point is that lesson I had to learn about quality over quantity was a hard lesson that I'm still learning. But I see how the enemy can have you so focused on what someone's not doing, what they didn't do, what they should have did, or this one person, and you're missing the 5 people that God has sent to bless you and encourage you and strengthen you along your journey, right? And so I just want to say, look at those that are showing up for you. Appreciate them and ask God to help you not focus on the hurt, the disappointment of the ones that aren't showing up for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And, I just want to touch on the negativity part a little bit too. And I was just thinking how, like, if we would do some of the things that we learned when we were younger, and what I mean by that is, we were taught when we were younger, think before you speak, right? If we actually thought before the words came out of our mouth, you know how much that can help? That would help us in a lot of ways, because oftentimes you don't know what someone is going through, what they're battling, their insecurities, their doubts, fears that they're battling themselves, right? And then you go speak and you're speaking negative. And look what you added on to the things that they already struggling with, right? We wouldn't want no one to do that to us if we were at a certain place, And so it's like, think before you speak. That can go a long way. Another thing that we learn, treat people the way you want to be treated. And so I was just thinking about those things. I'm like, if we want people to show up for us, if we want people to encourage us and love us and do all these things, are we doing those things for people? Are we checking ourselves before we, act negative or be nasty or treat a person a certain way? That can go a long way. And, for my woman empowerment, like, I try to push for women to support each other, love on each other, encourage each other, because we all don't know what each other are going through, what life is at home, what their upbringing was, family, trauma or work related things, because some people have issues on their jobs, and all those things that I'm like, kindness goes a long way. Speaking goes a long way. A compliment can go a long way. You just never know. And so I just think about those things if we can do them as adults, because we learn it when we're younger. Be kind, speak, and different things like that, right? Give a person a compliment, especially women. Like, I don't understand why women can't give each other compliments. Like, it doesn't cost you a thing at all. Nothing. What's wrong with saying, girl, your shoes is bad, okay? Your smile is so pretty. Oh, you look nice. What's wrong with that? That can brighten up her whole day. That can turn her worry into peace. you know, you could sprinkle a little kindness, joy, laughter, anything to lighten her mood for that day. So anyway, back to my point because I'm getting off track. So I just want to encourage you all that despite the rain in your life, don't let the rain stop you. Stop you from being you. Stop you from being on the journey that God has you on. Okay? You have to learn to move in the rain, regardless if support shows up. Consistency is something that you have to dig down deep and do. You have to keep being consistent at whatever it is that you're doing, because consistency shows results. It's when you give up, you don't get to see what the end result was. So you have to keep going. You have to continue to stay focused. You have to remember that you called and who called you. So again, you have to push past those feelings. You have to show up when you don't feel like it. And you have to remember that God has an assignment for you to complete. Period. And guess what? The enemy doesn't want you to complete the assignment. His whole objective is to kill, steal, and destroy. He doesn't want you to complete it because he knows what's attached to the completion of your assignment. You don't know. I may not know. That's why I say it's bigger than me. It's bigger than you. That's why you have to keep going. Something I want you to remember. Your calling is not dependent on applause. All the challenges that you face are for your growth, to grow you up, to build your character, to show you that God is in control and that He is with you every step of the way, and that you need Him. You may think you need people, but people aren't your source. God is. God will send you the people that He wants to show you, okay, do this, do that. And of course, it hurts when strangers show support, but let's appreciate it and appreciate those ones that God sends in our life, family, friends, anyone in our circle that shows up for us. Not be distracted by the ones that are not. So remember, God is building you for endurance. God is building you to be resilient. He's building your faith every step of the journey. So you have to continue to trust the process, because God is the author and the finisher of our faith. Okay. So yes, being in the industry of being an entrepreneur for over 20 years, I've had my share of disappointment, hurt, letdowns, unmet expectations, all of the things. Okay. But one thing I know today, that I am only here because of God. He is the reason why I'm on this journey I'm on. He's the reason why I have the different business ventures. He's the reason why my doors are still open to my salon. He is the reason why I have the success I have today. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a peace of mind. I'm talking about the joy. I'm talking about His grace, His mercies, His faithfulness in my life. That's the success I'm talking about. It's only Him. Because the other thing is, we can have money handed to us and family do different things for us to help us run our businesses, our journeys. But the other piece of that is they can take the credit for it. But when it's God that sends you the resources, it's God that has your doors open, it's God that sends you the customers, the clients, you know it's nobody but Him. Because He knows those silent prayers, those silent tears, the disappointments that almost took you out, the hurt, the frustration. He knows all of those things. So when He sends people at the right time, at the set time, you know, you look to Him like, God, it was only you. It was only you. So I stand here today telling you, or sit here today rather, telling you that it's nobody but God, that I'm still an entrepreneur, still on this journey, and I still have joy in the journey. Despite the rain, I have learned and learning to dance in the rain. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. Another thing I want you to remember, just because people aren't clapping for you doesn't mean what God isn't doing through and by you isn't powerful. They may not speak on it, but trust me, they can see. And you will see it in due time unfold. That's why you have to keep going. And that's why sometimes the strangers come to encourage you, to show you, remind you, nah, I needed you. You're on the right path. Or no, we need to connect. We need to network, you know? And so being consistent means showing up for yourself. even when no one else is showing up for you. It means showing up even when no one's clapping or rooting for you, sending you praises, whatever it is. You have to stay consistent. So there's a scripture that used to come to me often, Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in well doing. I was growing weary. I'm not even gonna lie, but I kept hearing in due time, in due time, in due time. And I'm just like, God, when? Because oftentimes I'll speak for myself. I get tired of being the bigger person, I would get tired of not being bitter because I might want to be a little bitter. I might want to be a little angry or react to certain things, that I'm given. But that's not what God has been calling me to do. Quite the opposite. No, you're better than that. You need to act this way. You need to pray for those that curse you. You need to still bless them. You need to still show up. I know they didn't show up for you. And let me tell y'all, that is not an easy thing to do at all. Okay. And I'm still going, I have not arrived in this level in this area at all. You see, I'm stumbling over. I have not arrived in this area. Okay. God is still working on me, but I just kept hearing in due time, in due time, in due time. So I want to encourage you too, in due time. We can do this. Let's do this together. Okay. Because God is faithful to give us the strength that we need and the grace that we need to do whatever it is that He tells us to do. Because another thing that I learned from someone that said, despite what I go through and people treat me, I try to do the opposite. They may not show up for me, but how can I show up for them? And I'm just like, wow, that's powerful, So for me, that's a goal. That is a goal. Like, okay, I need to get to that place. Baby steps. I can get there. But I need God. I can't get there on my own. I already know. And so we just got to stay encouraged in the Lord. And I just want to encourage my entrepreneurs, keep going. Don't let it stop you from dancing in the rain. Don't wait for the rain to stop. I will often question, well, why aren't they supporting me? What do they don't see something in me? They don't believe in me? What is it? But what is that going to change? Nothing. It's not going to change nothing, So that's why you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing and do what God requires of you to do, period. So I would say, in due time, you're going to see the purpose and plan that God has for you and why you had to be on this journey, in all the things working for your good, because the thing is, what God has for you is for you. Nobody can stop what God has for you. Nobody. So I want you to remember something. You don't need a crowd to be called. You don't need an applause to be anointed. You don't need permission to walk in your purpose. And, I thought about it. Do you know Jesus was rejected by his own people? And it made me think, like, I'm sure the different ones that were close to him didn't support him. I'm pretty sure that was very disappointing and hurtful. But guess what? It didn't change the purpose and plan that God had for his life. It was all a part of the journey. It didn't stop the assignment that he was placed on this earth for. He finished the assignment. So ultimately, that's our goal. We have to finish the work. We all have an assignment. We all were created for God's purpose. So we have to complete the very assignment that he's given us, period. And let me tell you something. Jesus was rejected more than we ever will be. We just feel a glimpse of it. And yes, it hurts. It doesn't feel good. But he's built us. He's equipped us to be overcomers. He's equipped us to be resilient. He's equipped us to be strong enough because of his strength and his power to push through. We have to finish strong. So remember, we may be rejected by people, but we were chosen by God. If God is for us, Who can be against this? So I want to leave you with this. If you're building something right now and you feel like no one sees you, they're not showing up, you're hearing a lot of silence, lack of support, negativity, whatever it is, right? I want you to hear me clearly. Keep going, keep posting, keep being consistent, stay focused. Remember, you have an assignment to complete, and your end goal is to please God. Not people, but God. Remember, what God has for you is for you. And nothing or no one can stand in the way of that. Remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Choose to be better, not bitter. Choose to dance in the rain. Choose to continue to show up and be consistent. God is well able to see you through. So I hope this encouraged you today and gave you some hope in your entrepreneurship journey or whatever journey of life that you're on. Keep pushing. Keep dancing in the rain. Don't wait for it to stop. Everybody's not going to understand the assignment that God has for you because it's your assignment. They're not meant to understand it, and it's okay. It is a part of the journey. This journey, you're going to get more patience. You're going to get more faith. Your trust for God is going to grow more, where you're relying on Him to see you through. And He will, because He is faithful to bring you through. He wouldn't have gave you the vision if He didn't believe that you can complete it. So, stay encouraged, stay consistent, stay dancing in the rain. So thank you for pulling up a chair with me today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and send it to another person that you believe it will encourage. Until next time, go be great and have the most amazing day on purpose.